Welcome to the Antonio Talks talk show. Linus, I've been unwell for the past 5 days. How have you been? Have you suffered from man flu yet?
No, I've been dodging it so far. I'm a bit scared of being in the same room as you right now.
But I don't think flus are actually... I think they're not contagious after a certain period. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's before the symptoms come out.
Okay, there we go. So I think we're going to be okay. Today I have a absolute special guest on the show. This person actually works for the organisation. You may think that when we don't have guests coming on, we get our staff on, but actually I wanted to interview Molly ages ago anyway to build her brand also, and to have her to hear her piece on what the world is about. So. This person's a great sales business development person for Recruited and a good friend of many of us. So her name is Molly. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Ooh, nervous.
How's it going?
I'm good. I am nervous. It's like my first bright lights and everything, you know.
It's
good.
Why are you nervous? I did offer you a beer, didn't I?
Yeah,
but you didn't want to.
I feel like 11:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and we have a client proposal later on, don't we?
Yes, we do. We've got a big one, so
that's okay.
Stick to the water, but yeah, no, I'm excited. It's a bit different.
Good. So, have you ever done a podcast before then?
No, a couple of my friends do them actually.
Yeah.
But as of yet to be invited to be on it.
What podcasts do they do?
They are Forever Friends, so give them a follow on LinkedIn. They are around. They've been going for quite a while, so yeah.
What is Forever Friends?
They talk, they will talk about a bit like this, general life, friendships, health, education, work life, just general chat really. So yeah, that's a good one. But other than that, no, it's my first one.
Good stuff. Okay, so Forever Friends. Isn't that a retail store as well?
Forever 21.
Forever 21. Okay, there we go. It's not
nearly there.
It's nearly there. Right, awesome. So, Molly, tell the world about yourself, because obviously I know who you are. Linus here knows who you are.
Yes.
But so some people out there might not know who you are. So tell the world about yourself. What's your story? Where have you come from? Talk about your story.
Oh gosh, my whole story from graduation 3 years ago. It's a long road.
Is that when you were born? Graduation 3 years ago. No, tell us about your actual story, the real nitty gritty.
The real nitty gritty. Okay, I don't know where to start. I'm getting all flustered. No, I mean, I guess I am from my beginning journey. I guess from uni is a good place to start.
Yeah.
I think from before then, it's not exactly.
What did you study at university?
I actually did linguistics and communication.
What does that entail?
Don't ask me now, I don't know. Still don't know. No, it was all of sort of about the science and the language behind English language. A lot of people did other languages. I did not. Most people find out I do this degree and they say, oh, how many languages do you speak? I'm like, one. I don't speak any other language. But it's all about psychology behind language. It's the science behind how we communicate as humans, how we develop communication skills, how we develop through life from, early ages up until now. How do we acquire language, communication skills, whether that's in groups, whether it's on our own, through different platforms. That's like social, could be internet media. How do we react to, communicate, like TV, things like that. It's everything. So do you think
that I kind of feel like our communication is suffering today purely because of the devices. I feel like people don't know how to communicate with each other. So like back in the day, if I was to go up to back in the day it was quite acceptable for you to go up to someone and just have a chat.
Yeah.
Right. And first of all,
you're like a weirdo.
Yeah. First of all, speaking to the microphone, by the way. First of all, just pull the microphone forward. Make yourself comfortable. First of all, it was acceptable because that was the done thing. And then secondly, you were confident enough to do it because that was the only way that you would start to introduce yourself to someone. So do you think that communication, I don't know if you studied this in your degree, but do you think that communication is actually being hindered via the access to digital media on our mobile devices all the time?
I mean, I think there are pros and cons to it, to be honest. I feel like this is always a debate I have strongly with my parents. I think they're very much, oh, you guys, even they're not actually that old, just FYI, but they're not so much into it, and they don't always, I feel like I get really passionate when I'm having to say to them all the time, you don't understand, like the communication levels that we all get from it through our generation is, it's so meaningful, like whether that is through just seeing pictures of people that you haven't seen for years, like that. I mean, I personally have lived away from my family, like for a long time. So I have a big family, we're all very close, and the best way for us is our family WhatsApp groups or, Instagram, it's Facebook, it's all of the photos, it's keeping up to date with people's lives. And I think there's so much more to communication than just messaging. I think a lot of people get so, you're texting, you're on your phone constantly. But communication goes way beyond, just talking. And I think it's that whole, from a personal perspective, I can keep up with people that I haven't seen I can't see, all the time. And I want to know what they're doing. And to say it's hindered, maybe in terms of, there's a lot of stigma around people at the moment with mental health. So, it's anxiety. It's like everyone's hiding behind their screens. How do we communicate in the real world? People aren't as confident in person as they are necessarily as a persona online. I think from that perspective, maybe. But as a general rule, I think it's very good, and it's a very, it's a very strong way of keeping up to date with people. But I'm an advocate.
So when was the first time you opened up a social media account?
Ooh, social media. Mine was actually Facebook.
Facebook?
Yeah. And
How old were you?
14.
Oh, okay, so that's quite late, really.
It was quite late. 13, 14, maybe. Yeah, it was quite late.
Yeah.
I was a little bit of a nervy when it came to things like that. I was like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
How do I do this? Who's going to speak
Nothing's
to me?
changed then.
Yeah, literally. But no, and then after that it was, but to be honest with you, I mean, I say I'm reliant on social media in terms of that could be LinkedIn as a networking. From a business perspective, LinkedIn is my life. But I'm more on Instagram, to be honest. Everything else, I use Facebook so my older family members can see what I'm doing. But other than that, I'm very much LinkedIn, Instagram. That's about it. So
when you were, because I find it super interesting. So on my first social account was something called MySpace. I don't know if you've ever heard of MySpace.
Yeah, do you know what? It was a thing when I was young, but it wasn't like, it wasn't the thing. Like what it is now. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure it was.
There's not anything now, that's the thing. But MySpace back in the day was big bollocks. You know what I mean?
Everyone always goes on about like, memories. Do you remember MySpace?
Used to be able to create your own. For those who don't know, then MySpace was a social networking site. You'd have your own page, much like you have on Facebook. But the really neat thing about MySpace was that you could tailor your page. So you could create you could like do it, you could design it the way you wanted. You could do HTML. That's how I learned HTML. Right?
I think that's actually, you say that, I did attempt it, but you know how I'm a technophobe?
Yeah.
I shied away from it because I was like,
so like, I remember like, doing, like putting backgrounds and whatnot into my images, changing the fonts and whatnot. And you'd spend ages crafting your MySpace page. And
it's quite a good way, really, isn't it?
It was like it was like has anyone seen Moana?
Yes, love that film.
Moana, the crab, shiny. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah,
have you seen Moana?
Seen it too many times.
Oh my god, yeah, I watch it every day. I watched it last night. Obviously, I've got kids.
It's amazing.
But anyway, that's what it was like. It was like you just wanted your MySpace page to be shiny.
So, I'm sure you achieved that, Antonio.
No, absolutely. You'd spend so much time crafting it, and it just gave you so much clout. Like, depending on how like, if your MySpace page was shit hot and you had a great song, because you should be able to have a MySpace song, a song on your page, so people go play it.
What was your song?
Well, no, there's loads of different ones, but I was like a emo scene kid. Do you know what I mean? Back in the day, so. Yeah, it was just like really trying to be as hardcore as possible. Do you know what I mean? trying to just be one of those sort of just one of those wanky bastards that you'd meet. Do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, just Anyway, so MySpace was one of that was my first real social profile. Prior to that, I was on like forums and stuff for like Census Fail, which was a band, and that was like my first access to networking. And I was like 14 at the time.
Yeah.
So this was like 16 years ago. Yeah, 16 years ago. So that was like my first access. But MySpace was really the one that started creating a global community for me. You know, I was speaking to people in America and whatnot, and it connected everyone, and it was a really great movement. But we didn't let it replace, you know, the actual physical hanging out in the park and getting fucked up, or you know, like, you know,
here he is with his 3 beers still continuing the trend.
No, we didn't let it replace that.
So
I'm really interested in the different generations, because we are a different generation, right? You know, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
24 on Saturday.
24, wow. Happy birthday for Saturday, everyone. By the time this will air tomorrow, so it'll be one day away from your birthday.
Okay, so Saturday.
Amazing. Happy birthday to you then.
23.
So 24 on Saturday, 23. So we are a different generation. And so how do you feel like social media has impacted you growing up? Like, do you feel like it's had much of an impact? Have you relied on it more so than actually interacting with people physically?
Thankfully, me as a person, I love people, and I wouldn't do the job that I do if I didn't. So for me, networking is very important, and kind of being out and about in person with people is a big thing for me. So I think that's kind of helped me, I want to say, use the word rein it in slightly, you know, control it, and, you know, be able to kind of integrate with people outside of social media. But am I reliant on it? I used to say no, and I used to be like, no, you know, I'm okay. But yeah, I do think it runs a big part of my life and a lot of my friends' lives. I think it's, I don't want to say a confidence thing. I think, you know, you hear a lot of throwaway comments like, oh, you know, they, not necessarily to me personally, but you hear like, oh gosh, have you seen their profile, or they don't look like that in person, or oh, they're so fake online, or this and that, or oh, this is amazing, you need to watch this is a blog on this is this. And there's a lot of influencing, and I think from my perspective, I'd say a couple of months ago, I had to take a step back and say, right, what is on my feed and things that is what's causing me negative impact? What's negatively impacting me? That could be self-esteem, that could be confidence. You know, was I getting too caught up on, oh gosh, that photo didn't get that many likes, which means it wasn't as good as the last one I did, you know. And I think I took a step back and I was like, right, delete everything that was negative, and I filled my page. You know what I'm like, for a big, I'm very much into my motivational, is that the word? Yeah, motivational speeches and books and quotes, and I just attempted to flip my media a little bit to kind of more towards that. So
do you think that's a problem then? Do you think there is a big problem, you know, with regards to self-esteem when it comes to social media? Do you think
I would say so. I think it's a lot of what you're interested in as well, though. You know, there's a lot of different communities on there. And I guess if you're very passionate about one thing, in that, you know, you follow a lot of people in that space, it's that constant competition of, you know, who's more into it than the next person, who knows more than the next person, who. But then I do think on the flip side, there's a lot of positives to it as well. You know, I mean, yes, I would say I'm very reliant to it. I might feel a bit nervous, you know, if I haven't checked it for a certain amount of time and things like that. But I would say you learn a lot from it as well. There's a lot of people in there that I learn so much from, and, you know.
In what ways?
I would say, well, from my perspective, I'm very into training. You know this, so I'm a big runner. That's my passion, has been for years, and training on the flip side as well, gym training, you know, has been for many, many, many years. And I would say more so in the last couple of years, all of a sudden it's become this big thing on social media. You know, everybody's out there doing their own videos and their own nutritional advice, and they've got all these different pages, which I have found very useful. Like, I like it. I like to learn, and because it's a passion of mine, it's really nice to engage with those people and see, you know, share ideas and kind of, you know, what works for you, what doesn't. But then it comes back to this whole, well, is this having an impact on how I feel about myself? Is this, you know, making me doubt certain things that I do, rather than being me and fully me? Maybe so. I guess.
Do you think people are themselves online?
I think to an extent.
So, you know, you were saying about earlier around, you know, conversation, there's been comments chucked around, you know, they don't look like that in real life. Do you think a lot of people don't look like how they how they put themselves out online?
I think it's more of a perception. It doesn't always necessarily be, it's not necessarily on a physical level all the time.
We used to call them MySpace angles. That's what they were called.
Angles.
Angles.
Oh,
MySpace angles. Basically, there was a classic MySpace photo. I'll take one right now, and then you just pop it up on the screen when I'll send it to you. Make sure you get it off me, yeah? Basically, it was this.
Oh, angle. and most guys are like down here, not to be stereotypical, they're like down there.
And and basically you wouldn't be able to see obviously how they looked really, because it was just like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That was a MySpace angle.
I think it's okay though. At the end of the day, we all want to, feel our best, be our best.
100%.
But I think as well, I've noticed a lot of online at the moment, especially from people that are well known in the industry, like in terms of famous or celebs. A lot of them at the moment are posting photos and writing all these captions like, oh, you guys only see me at my best, and I wanted to show you how I don't feel my best. And they'll do the two different kinds. And
that's sort of the trend at the moment, isn't it? It's a trend.
But
I think
nice.
it's important.
It's nice. I think it's very important, and it's encouraging.
So there's a couple of things, right? Because I think absolutely people should embrace themselves. I think we should absolutely embrace ourselves. But then where does it go? Where do you cross the line between embracing yourself and then actually just becoming a false version of embracing yourself, so that people can
think that you're
embracing yourself?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Then do you lack authenticity when you are doing it for the likes, or are you doing it for yourself? Do you know what I'm saying? Is social media a complete antithesis of authenticity?
I think everyone is always going to have perceptions of everybody else. I think let's just all stop commenting on everybody else and just be who you want to be, I suppose. But then it's kind of that.
But why
are we actually doing what we think we are?
So why do you post to social media?
Why do I post on social media? Good question. I guess it depends on the medium. If it's a story, it's kind of like, oh, this is what I'm doing at the moment in the day. It's a 24-hour thing. Because you just want everyone to see kind of but why?
No, but you want to like. You want to like. You only post something to social media if you want to like. I can hold my hands up. I use social media as an attention getter. That's all it is. It's all about attention. It's all about look at me. It's all about moving the dial. Business. That's why I use social media, right? Other people use social media to make themselves feel better, because they want they want the like to feel good. Do you know what I mean? And that's gratification.
Yeah, I suppose. I kind of tell myself I'm not as bothered about that anymore. I mean, my boyfriend would definitely disagree. He's do you know what? He's I think he's your age, and it is funny to.
I think he's your age.
It's funny. It's funny to see the difference in opinion towards it. It's like, he would say like, oh, Molly, why do you have to put that on your story? Or, why do you care about that certain thing? And I'm like, I don't care. I just do it. And he's not that much older. You're not that much older. But even he will say to me, oh, it doesn't matter. It's not important. Like, we don't need to, and I'm like, to me, and he'll even make comments like, oh, it's just you guys. It's early 20s. You're all just obsessed with it. And it sounds funny coming out of his mouth, because you guys are only a few, 7 years, and how that has made such a difference. And then I look 5 years back or 7 years back, and I think how different it is from then as well.
The thing is, social media is. It is. I know it sounds crazy, and I'm not using this as social media. It's life, it's life.
it kind of is.
It is life. Do you know what I mean? It's the way it is now, and there's no changing that. So anyone who says, "Oh, it's just you guys," I'd never use social media. I'm not doing it. They're bullshitters, because they will, and it's the medium. It's the medium. Sorry,
Mum.
No, seriously, it's the way it is now, and that's how people interact, and so you need to either embrace it or just get left behind. And this is something I've been speaking about for ages, but still, it's because there are certain demographics in my generation, and above, who just aren't used, who are still fighting against it, but actually it's never going away. And actually, the more we embrace it, and the more we start looking at, how can this be a positive impact to my life, the better, things are going to be so not the better things are going to be, but the more positive things are going to be. That being said, there is equally a huge issue with social media and self-esteem, and an increase in, there's been a 50% increase across the US in female suicide, and that's a direct correlation to an increase in social media use, right? So
not feeling good enough, or
not feeling
anxious,
right?
and yeah.
50% is a lot. Like it can be. You can go, well, it's only 100,000 people across the US. You could say compared to 100 million, but 100,000 people or whatever, 160 million. But 100,000 people is a lot, right? So,
yeah, for sure. That's very sad.
So that's a lot. And so how do we safeguard that though? Because I don't think you can. And do you think it's actually a social media issue, or do you think it's actually a more of how we're bringing up children to deal with social media?
I think it'd probably be a bit of both. I think you kind of have to check in with yourself and know, and you have to say to yourself, like, I can't let this run my life. Easier said than done. But yeah, I mean, for sure, kids nowadays, they're going to be growing up with this whole life. I mean, it's become our life in such a small space of time. Where is it going to lead to, And I think a lot of it as well comes down to the whole, it's not just about each individual anymore. Businesses, they thrive on social media. I mean, we know this, being in employer branding and doing so much on social platforms, we know that's a big thing. And I think from my perspective, it's a mixture of everything. You kind of just need to make sure that you're in control of yourself, but it's not always control, because you don't always know it's happening.
So as this demographic, which is, that's why I'm asking your opinion, because I can't actually comment. How do you deal with, times when you have low self-esteem? Because everyone has low self-esteem. How do you deal with it?
How do I deal with it? What, in terms of through social media?
Yeah, so with yourself, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I guess in the past, and quite recently, so I say past, but yeah, I guess I would be like, okay, right, how can I make myself feel better? I have a lot of things that I would do outside. Like I say, I have my books, and I have things that make me feel good, like going for runs, and like there's all that side of things outside that people wouldn't see.
Yeah.
But then it's that, oh, okay, I feel really good today. Like let's try and get a really nice photo. Let's get a nice photo. Let's make myself feel nice. That might be at an event. That could be at the gym. I try not to take them at the gym, but like you say, if you're having a low self-esteem, okay, how do I...
with self-esteem, certainly.
What would you mean?
Well, even in your serotonin levels, isn't it?
Releases endorphins and shit, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. And I think I would say quite a few times I've thought, okay, I feel a bit shit today. I'm going to, I've got a really nice photo there. I'm going to post it just to make myself feel it. But why did I have to reach out to that, Instagram or whatever it is, to be like, okay, I'm just going to show everyone that I feel and look amazing in myself. But then I leave it and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just let the likes or whatever that roll. That's going to make me feel better. It's not, because it's just false.
It's not false though, because if your boyfriend says to you, you look beautiful today, then that's the same feeling as someone liking a post. It's actually the same feeling.
Well, hopefully it's a little bit more, but it means more. But
so I was listening to Dr. John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how women, when they're stressed, they have high cortisol levels in their body, right? And the only way that you can reduce that is obviously by introducing, I think it was oxytocin, which is basically, and oxytocin is released when a woman feels like that someone's like that the man's done something for them, or someone's given them a compliment, or they feel appreciation of something. And the same with a man feels good when a man's stress is decreased when he has testosterone levels, right? Because that's when he's problem solving. Okay, when a man's problem solving, he releases testosterone, which means he gets less stressed, right? And this is how men and women are. They're different, right? In that regard. So and it's the same thing, right? So as a man, if I feel like someone is giving me likes or gratification online, that actually makes me feel good. That makes me feel good. And it's no different between even my missus telling me, "Oh, you look good today," or "Well done there." Do you know what I mean? Or even it's no different from you, Linus, going, "Oh, that's a great job." Do you know what I mean? Like it's the same. It's the same. It just it releases the same types of chemicals in our brains. And I think that I don't know where I was going with that, but I think that where was I going with that? How
do you reach out to make yourself feel better? And do we actually go out on social media to do it?
Yeah, perfect. So it's actually important that you do that. I think it's important that if that's one way for you to do it, and I think obviously you can't rely on external influence
No, and I think that's really
consistently,
important.
or totally. Because the moment that influence goes away, then everything you're relying on for self-worth goes, right? But what you can rely on is that part, and it needs to be like, this is a whole, like, this, it's got to be balance.
Well, you can, because there are other ways of doing it. Like for me as well, I think, okay, if I've had a really good day at work, or if I haven't had that good a day the day before, I think, right, okay, I feel a little bit rubbish. Tomorrow I'm going to really try and do better on that side of things. So I sit back and I say, right, what part of myself is making me feel lower than I usually do? Okay, maybe I haven't done as well at work the day before, or maybe I don't know, like you say, I haven't been able to go for my run yesterday, or it's something that, you know, what part of my life is making me feel a little bit, or I haven't seen my friends for a while, or whatever it is. And I kind of try and step away from social media, like in that sense, and think, what is it actually externally that's making it? And I think a lot of my time I do kind of try to readjust. I think, right, throw myself into work tomorrow, and if I have a good day at work, I feel great. Everything else also feels in place, and it's the same with other aspects of my life as well. You know, if I have a really nice night out with my friends, or, you know, if a girly night in or something like that, you know, you then feel good for at least another 24 hours.
How different do you think men and women are?
In terms of life?
In terms of life, how different do you think they are?
Nowadays, not that different.
Really?
I mean, obviously it's 21st century, so there's this big thing of, you know, equals and, you know, but I would say it's the same with everybody. There are some more traditional men and women out there, and there's some more, you know, not so
The only reason I ask is because, like, I think, because my missus was saying the same thing around, like, how she, like, loves having a girly night in, or just going out with the girls. You know what I mean? It's so important to her, like, and I love that. I think it's great. Yeah, I'm like, cool. But I would never be like, yeah, I just want to go out with the guys. Do you know what I mean? And that's maybe me.
No, we're very mixed as well.
I don't even have a group. Linus, we don't have a group. Do you know what I mean? Dude? Well, like, maybe that's us, but
maybe that's just.
But I don't know.
Who you're attracting.
I don't know any, like, or anyone else. Like, every bloke I know is still the same. Like, they wouldn't go, yeah, you know, I just want to have a lads' night in. Do you know what I mean?
No, do you know what? We're the same. Our group is very mixed. It is boys and girls, and to be honest, girls' nights, we always said we're going to do it, and then we always end up being with the guys anyway, because it's just how we're quite a coupley group as well, so everybody's just one big family. So to us, if the girls were going out, the guys wouldn't question it, but they'd be a bit like, oh, okay, so what are you girls doing then? Whereas if the guys were going out, we'd all be like, oh, so where are you guys going then? You know, but then that isn't to say that you don't need time on your own. Girls are still naturally different to guys. Like, we can never be the same in terms of necessarily how we think. You know, we have certain conversations and things. I mean,
like, fundamentally, men and women aren't the same. Like, we take it, we're not the same. We have equality and that's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're not the same. Like, you can't say that men and women are the same, because biologically we're not. Like, it's just, you just can't make it up. Like, but equality is totally important.
But I guess that's a big conversation nowadays as well anyway, isn't it?
Yeah,
biologically, why don't we just take that out of things as well, and everybody is equal?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, people, you know, there's a lot of people nowadays that don't want to define themselves as one or the other, and I think, again, it's just how you perceive yourself. How do you feel happy?
Yeah.
And how would you say to somebody like that, oh, girls and guys nights, like, well, no, there's no boundary there. You know,
on the last show, we were talking about how there's a huge in society. There's a huge, what is it? There's a huge emphasis on gender. But that's categorization, isn't it? It's like, you know, you can't say. I think there is a huge emphasis on gender, but it's just ways, as humans, we structure life by categorizing things. Like, it's how your brain makes things up. You go, well, those are plants because it's organic. Do you know what I mean? And it's growing from the ground. Do you know what I mean? So that's a bush over there. Those are versions of bushes. Those are versions of trees. You know, those are fishes. You know, and I think that's the way you categorize things. I think there's no problem with anyone calling themselves what they want. You can call it, like,
yeah,
you know, if you want to define yourself however you want, define yourself, absolutely. But the thing is, I don't think you can expect society as a whole to go, right, you have to call me what I want you to call me. I think you have to accept that if you have the right to call yourself what you want, then you have to respect others' rights to not engage or engage in that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if you have the right to call that, then that's brilliant. That's what we have. Fantastic. But if they, and I don't give a fuck anyway. I couldn't get killed if someone wants to call themselves a teapot. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
But there are some people out there who probably will give a fuck, and they should be allowed to not. They should be allowed to give a fuck, and they should be able to not call people just because someone said that you have to call me this, because that's something. They should be able to call people whatever they want. That's freedom of speech. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would. It's a hard one. I think there are certain lines. I would say you don't need to. There's just no need for it, in my opinion.
No need for what?
People not accepting somebody else. At the end of the day, like you say, yes, people are free to not agree. People are free to agree. People can be whoever they want to be. You can have your opinions on things, but I also think it's just not necessary. There's no need to be purposely against somebody for something.
No, but
if you
what
have
if
those
it's your
opinions,
values,
keep it in.
What if it's down to your value? Like, again, it's not about me, but the point is, there's no need.
I mean, feel free. I'm all for people. Project how you feel and stand by what you believe, of course. But there's ways about doing things. I do, and I think some people take it out of. Yeah, of course. Context.
I think as long as you're not offending people, as in like, but then offence is again taken, not given. I think as long as you're not going out your way to like hurt someone, then everything is fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Equally to that, again, if so, let's say for instance, if I was to go to, let's say for instance, I'm just trying to think of this in the right way. If I was to go to an insurance company and say, because I identify as male, that's who I am, but then let's say, I wanted to identify as a female, they wouldn't accept that. So where does the line come from? How do we draw the line societal and to companies?
It's a very tricky question. Just get rid of it all. I don't know, honestly. That I think it's an ongoing battle, to be honest, isn't it? And I guess it's just, I genuinely feel like I can't answer that. It's just...
No one can answer it. And the reason being is because
abstract.
It's so abstract and it's so personal. And these are important personal things to everyone. And, at the end of the day, if that's personal to you, it's personal to you. But the point is, it's personal. So you can't say that...
The law and things, how do you define it? Yeah.
You can't say, you can't speak for anyone else. You can only speak for yourself. And equally, you can only speak for yourself and the way that you accept other people's... observations of themselves.
I do think the world nowadays is becoming a lot more accepting, whether that's through law, that's like same-sex marriages, things. I do think we're moving in a direction that is very accepting. I don't think people can say it isn't. And there's always going to be issues that somebody else brings up and goes, oh, actually now I'm unhappy with this, or actually, this needs to change and that needs to be this way. But there's always going to be contradiction to anything that's out there. And we're not going to become a completely, I don't even know what the word is, a world where there is absolutely nothing set in stone. There's always going to be something in place that someone else is going to have an issue with.
Yeah. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to, obviously, let's say I wanted to identify as an alien. Do you think I could identify as an alien?
Well, people marry trees and things nowadays, don't they?
What kind of alien?
Well, it doesn't, like, let's say I
would you be green with an antenna?
Exactly, that's it. I just with green antenna, and I just wanted to identify as an alien. Do you think I could actually identify as that?
I think we're in this day and age. Yeah, I think you'd have a lot of weird stares.
But do you think? Do you think I could actually become another species?
What, as in like legally?
Legally.
No.
Because
no.
Why?
Because you're still human, right?
Like you say, it's biological.
Yeah.
Oh, but then again, there is that crossover that there are people.
There's 1% of our DNA is actually not of this earth.
Why don't we test it?
It's true. But this is true. 1% of our DNA is not of this earth, and I'm not trying to trivialise it. I'm just trying to understand, where
does it end?
And where would people accept me and how I'd want to identify? Do you know what I mean?
Well, if this is something you've contemplated for a while, we will accept you. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
There are two people in this world that will accept you as an alien, so go for it.
Exactly. Brilliant. So back to my question. So social media, do you think that it's impacted your life positively growing up, or do you think it's impacted it negatively?
I'd say majority is negative. Positive.
Freudian slip there.
Positive. Yeah, no, the majority of it is positive, definitely. Like I say, I'm very much about communication. I love seeing what people, maybe I'm a bit nosy, I don't know. I just, but from a perspective of, you know, what are other businesses doing and what are my friends doing, what are my family doing, you know, it's just the way of the world. Like, you know, when our parents were younger, they were, I mean, don't get me wrong, when I was growing up, we were still very active. We were still, you know, I did so much. I did my theatre training and I was always out with my friends and on your bikes and your electric scooters and things. Always out and about, like absolutely loved it. But so there's not to say that you don't have that part in you that you still think, oh, you know, but I do think the world has to be on social media now because it's just the way it's going, isn't it? And I just love being connected that way. Like, your parents could not have seen, you know, your family who have gone to the other side of the world, for instance. You know, all these things I think is very important. Grandparents don't get to see grandchildren if they've moved away and things. It's all stuff like that. Do you think
Tinder is a positive? And obviously you're in a relationship, but you know, obviously you probably know people that are on Tinder.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a positive, you know, aspect of online media?
I think it's up to the individual. I personally, I wouldn't engage. I guess you could never say never, obviously in a relationship now. Even when I wasn't with Alex, I didn't. It was just something that I personally wasn't interested in. I'm very much a little bit old school in that way. You meet somebody with destiny and you meet them when you're ready to meet them. I think I used to have this opinion that it was forced. You know, you're forcing yourself to find somebody if you're signing up to these things. But the more I go along with it and the more that, you know, like you say, some of my friends have used it and they found relationships where I think, okay, fair enough. Maybe, you know, some of them joke around and they go, Molly, you actually have to go out to meet people. And I don't, sort of as a joke, you know, like, oh, I just like to stay in. How am I ever going to meet somebody naturally if I don't care to go out anymore? Which is fair enough. And I think there are different ways around it. And yes, it can work. But I don't know, I'm a little bit old school. I mean, I met Alex being interviewed. So, you know, it is what it is. And
love at first sight.
Yeah, literally. And I think because I've been lucky enough to find that, not everybody is that lucky. And I did, honestly, genuinely felt so lucky. And I remember leaving the room and being like, right, found the person, like that's it for me.
So when you interviewed when you interviewed in your last job, when you interviewed in your last job, you met Alex your interview, and you knew, so you weren't thinking about a job, you're like, wow, I've just met the love of my life. I
honestly had a group chat and I left the room and I messaged a group chat. I was like, right girls, get your wedding hats. I was like, I found him. They're like, what are you on about? I was like, I don't know, like this guy just interviewed me. Yeah, I don't care about the job anymore. Obviously I'm joking. I was like, yeah, I found it. And then I think it was a rolling joke for quite a while. And then when it actually sort of started happening, I was like, this is what, maybe subconsciously, was I making it happen? Was it something that deep down you think you know, so you put the things in place and the bricks, right, to make it happen. But it was just so funny, and my friends were just like, we cannot believe this has happened. Like the way you joked about it when you left the interview, but now, you know, when we live together, we moved in a couple of weeks ago now, and I just think there are things in place in your life that will bring you to the right person, the right job, anything eventually. Yeah. So, do I disagree with Tinder and things? No, because it does work for people. Do I think it was necessarily something for me? No, because it's just a bit forced to me.
There was this woman, she did an article for the New York Times, and she actually went and cracked on Tinder, yeah? Yeah. So she was like, you know, meeting on Tinder, and then she basically met a geezer, went to a hotel room, did the business, and then...
you know this for sure, do you?
Yeah, there's no
friends with them.
and then did the business, and then she said, like, when she got up, she turned around and looked over, and the guy was just back on Tinder again. Just
see stuff like that.
So he was just looking for his next victim. That's actually what I heard on the Joe Rogan show the other day. So
yeah. See, things like that. I don't know. It's funny for people.
Because it's like it's a constant chase, isn't it? It's a.
I guess it depends on your intentions.
I think because I was on Tinder for a while, and I'd been in a long-term relationship, right? So I'd never experienced it. But I actually found it to be so boring, it's so hollow. Like the way the conversation's just like, if you just say one thing wrong, it's like done. Or if they say one thing wrong, you're like, nah, I'll move on.
Yeah. To be fair, I think I had it for like 4
Do you know what I mean?
days. I had it for like 4 days, and I honestly was like, I was too scared to talk to people. I was like, I'm not messaging anybody, and if they messaged me,
I'm fascinated by. I feel like some of the shit that people send to you, write to you.
Yeah, it was just so weird.
I'm dying to see what like the responses from girls get on Tinder.
Should we have a look at sort of Tinder fails? Should we have a look and see what's going on out there?
I was literally like, and if someone messaged me, I just got
Some
like,
guys will say some fucking
I'm not replying to that. Like, no. Yeah, and I deleted it straight away. I was like, oh, this is not for me.
So
not
here's
my platform.
33 of the most cringeworthy Tinder fails, yeah?
Right.
Brian, bald or hairy? Question mark.
Was there a response? Do you get
No.
to...
Scobie. I'm horny. Hi, horny. I'm Emily. Smooth. LOL, you're hot. No, I'm Emily. That's all right. Joey, do you know what my Johnston and microbiology have in common? They're both hard for you.
I need a microscope.
Do you run track? No, why? Because you must relay want my dick. Oh, excuse me, guys.
Fair enough.
I'm unwell. This is terrible. Who would... I'm not... Who would write this? No, I'm not being funny, but who would actually think that girls would love this?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think these people actually care. I think this is a jokey, like, I'm going to... Because I remember, like, some of my guy friends, if they were on it, they would all sit around and you know, some of them would say, right, what's the most outrageous thing I can say? And then they'd read it out and we'd all crack up and it'd be like, yeah, send that. So I do think sometimes it is just a bit of a...
But how do you think that feels for the female?
I think a lot. Do you know what I think nowadays? Because everybody does
the male,
it. It's
if
just
it's going to
funny.
the male.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just funny nowadays. I think people they accept it for what it is. If they get a message like that, they do laugh. Like girls would be like, "Oh my gosh."
What if you're really looking for love, innit? And you're like, I'm just so sick of these dick pics. Just so sick of these dick pics coming my way.
You just ignore it then, don't you? Really?
Anyway, here's another one. Fuck me. I can't tell if you're expressing anger or if you're actually requesting sex. LOL. Want to hang?
Awful.
Oh my god, this is terrible. Nick, I wish I knew his last name so I could shame him. I hope he's in a relationship now. This was in 2014.
I hope he's in a relationship.
Yeah, no offence. You're not that hot. Just kidding, I'd bang you.
Rude.
It's probably Americans.
Yeah. Well, you were on there for a while. So what was your?
I was quite nice. I was quite nice. But yeah, I just couldn't deal with it. It was just quite. It was just quite
tedious.
Just boring. Yeah, it was just really boring. And then I just prefer to. I'm old school. I like to just speak to people in bars or meet them. You know, if I see someone on the train or chat to them there.
Yeah.
You know, that's the sort of way that I like to be.
I feel like me and you are very much about like universe though.
Yeah, exactly.
As you always say, universe will provide.
Exactly. What do you think that means? The universe will provide.
I mean, to be honest, I actually do use that quite a lot. Like that phrase, I say it a lot, and I'll say it to myself as well when I'm feeling a little bit like, oh, things aren't going my way, and I was like, it's fine, the universe will provide. And I think sometimes it can be a little bit flippant, like you just say it because you think, oh, it'll be fine. But it's important. I think if you radiate positivity, you'll bring positivity, and if you believe something is possible, only you can make that happen, right? And whether that's a relationship, whether that's your dream career, whether that's, I don't know, running the next 10 marathons in a row, I don't know, you know, whatever it is, the universe, when you say the universe will provide, is it the universe or is it actually you?
So yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's but it's interesting. So let me just step back for a second on that, because it's interesting if you take a look at, say, if you start your day badly in a negative context, you're in a mood or you know whatever. You notice how things, maybe you'll walk past the bed and clip your toe, and then you'll like drop your toast and go butt side down. Yeah, exactly. And then you know, all these things will start happening to you, and there'll be more things to promote that.
Yeah.
And the issue there is that you're on that momentum, and the energies have momentum, right? So there's this woman, Abraham Hicks, or Esther Hicks, her name is. She channels entities, Abraham Hicks, and basically they say that each negative thought has a momentum of it will start a momentum after 17 seconds. So you've got 17 seconds to stop the momentum of that thought. Otherwise, it starts to exacerbate. So once you stop it, you're great. So as soon as you think of a negative thought, as soon as a negative thought comes your way, then think of a positive thought, and then it counteracts it, right?
You know that train in Inception that like goes through the city? That's how sometimes my negative thoughts tend to end up. I don't check that shit out.
Exactly, but
I ride the train.
I do, but the point is, again, but then when you say you're far too gone. Say you've gone like you're now in 10 minutes of negative thought, yeah. Because
that is deep shit.
The emotions create the feeling. The emotions create the thoughts, and the thoughts create the feelings, and then it's just a fucking vicious cycle, right? Let's say you're in that space. Then the best thing you can do is just like
ride it out.
Just ride it out. Just hang on, and it'll be over soon. It's like if you fall out of a plane, you haven't got a parachute. Just hang on, it'll be over soon. Do you know what I mean?
It is funny though, because something was happening. I was having a really annoying day. Just when there's a really irritating. Like you wake up and I don't know, like you might be late, or like your iron doesn't work and you're already running late, or like I smashed my foundation box. I was like, great. All these little things were happening. Then I get to the train. I was like delayed by 5 minutes. Okay, cool. You get on the train, then you get, and then you get to the underground or whatever it is, and then you get to work and something else happens, and it's just like, it feels like something's train off train.
The question you've got to ask yourself when that's happening is why have I attracted this?
Exactly, and this happened to me the other day. This is what
you ask yourself. Why? Sorry, go on.
No, because all I was going to say was, the other day I had one of these days, and I was going on and on. I was messaging my mum, and I was like, I'm so, like, all these things. What? And I said, why is the universe against me? Who is against me today? And then later in the day, something that was one of the biggest things that had impacted my day negatively turned, and actually wasn't as bad as I thought. And I messaged her, well, guess what? Someone sorted this for me, and it's all fine. But my mum was like, see, like, the universe isn't against you, Molly. Like, there's nothing against you. Things will work out eventually.
The universe is not separate from you. We are. This right now is the universe.
Maybe I like to think someone's looking down at least. I always say someone looking down at me,
No, you're your God. That's the thing. You are your own God. You are your own God. I am my own God. And you are creating everything around you.
Yes.
You are the universe. You're not separate from life. You are life. Life is now.
Well, it's present. That's what I try, and I do a lot of reading on present day. You need another beer now, Linus.
Here we go. Have that one. And that's the thing.
And he is.
So you're saying who is against me? It's yourself. And often we just need to get the fuck out of our own way. Like, get out of your own way, because when you try and force something to happen, let's say let's put it this way, you just got back home, you really need a piss, you run to the door and you're like, get your keys out. Exactly. You're trying to. Usually you can pull your keys out of your pocket like nobody's business, yeah. But you're pulling them, you're fucking getting it stuck, and you can't get them at the bottom of your bag. And then you're trying to put them in, you can't put the key in the keyhole, you're just like...
And it's the wrong key,
it's the wrong key, usually it's fine. But it's because you're in your own way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And you're flustering yourself.
Do you know what, things like that, when you speak about keys, always make me nervous, because when you watch like a scary film or something, and I always just think to myself, if anything happens, and they're trying to run through the door, and they can't get the keys in, and someone's behind them like, oh my God, I'm like,
or when they go to start the engine and they drop the key.
Like, that never happens in real life, I know.
No, it would happen, trust me, because they're in their own way. Get out your own way.
He's coming to get you.
Fucking murderer. Oh, great. So I guess that brings it close to the show. I think it's been an interesting one. What would you leave people with, Molly?
Be positive. I mean, you're always telling me, Molly, because I'll get really anxious, and you're always saying to me, Molly, come on, and so a lot of other people in my life, stop stressing, stop being in your own way. Absolutely. And I think it is just do you, work hard, the universe will provide.
Boomtown. Thank you so much for being on the show, Molly. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Bye.